Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. Hope you all having a wonderful, wonderful Friday and really excited for a weekend to come. I think it's a long weekend for many of us. In Canada, it's our Thanksgiving, so a lot of my Canadian friends in the community and back at home are celebrating the beginning of a very festive weekend. So hope you guys are having a good time for that. But today we're going to have a really exciting conversation about community building and especially all the learning lessons that we've had over the last 2 years of building a vibrant community here with the COEX3 family, and also talking about how we're going to be leveling up together as a community for our coming season, our next quarter to come. And today, joined with me are two very special guests. We have two of our brand new Sorry about that. My Google Home just started talking to me and I had to mute myself. But today we're going to be talking about a really, really cool topic with two special people. We have Ben and we have Ashley together with us. Ben and Ashley are brand new leaders of the community, and because they have been contributing so much in all the different aspects of just making our community better, and they have brand new ideas to share. So today I hope to have a wonderful conversation with me sharing about how the community has been built over the last 2 years, and then with this fresh blood coming in, sharing how we can do it better and improving ourselves. So first off, let's say hello from everybody. Ben, Ashley, want to say hi? Oh, can't hear you
Thanks for
guys.
having
Try one
us.
more time. There we go.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us, Conrad.
Of course, I'm super, super thankful to have you guys joining us today. As I was just mentioning, it's been awesome to have you feedback so many awesome implementations that we're about to put into the community, and really coming together to think about exactly, where we're at now, which I think is a wonderful and beautiful place, and how do we go from here. So it's really exciting, I think, even as I start talking a bit about, the things that are currently in place, to even hear your feedback about how you, as someone who just went through these processes only a few months ago, like, how was that experience for you? And especially, like, what did you enjoy about it? And then after, we can go about, like, hey, what are the challenges that we're currently trying to improve on, again, together as a community. So I think super, super exciting. Let's get straight into it, and let's talk about how we built a community in the first place. So for me, building a community really breaks down into like three core components, 3 or 4 core components. And the first thing is about a really good filter mechanism. And I think that cannot be understated. I think one of the biggest secret sauces for us in how we built such an amazing community, such a warm, vibrant community, is the idea that we were very, very intentional about the people that we brought into the community. And I'm not saying this in a sense of being like, particularly elitist or anything, but I'm saying this from the perspective of it's almost always going to be better if you have people who really want to be in a certain space, to be hanging out together, and to be able to appreciate the space that's been set up for us. One of the main things I did was I set up a website, right? And if you guys know, it's join.coextreme.com. And this website basically tells a lot about the story of why we're here, of what we stand for, and who we think would really fit into our crowd, who we think would be benefiting the most if they were to join a community like ours. And this is really important to say, is because whenever you build a product or a community, you don't want your users just to like you, right? Liking is a very passive term. Liking something, you can stop liking it the next day, but you want people to love what you do and love being in the space. So there's a really strong emphasis that I put on early on that was like, hey, this is a place where if you really care all about our mindsets, our values, right, our beliefs, then you would really fit in well here, and you would really benefit from all the learning lessons that we have together, the meaningful conversations that we have, everything, in that manner. And if you're not specifically strong on these points, that's totally fine. Maybe this place is not your speed, but we really make sure that the people that end up filtering through, that end up coming in and putting in an application, really have that mentality, or at least really understand what we're going on about when we start talking about the community, and really feeling a sense of resonance, like, hey, this is the space I've been looking for this whole time. So my quick question to Ashley and Ben is like, I'm curious, like, what was your journey like when you found us, right? Like, because I know there's multiple flows. We'll talk about that in a bit as well, about all the user flows that could happen, with new people joining us from different places of the world. But what was your specific flow? Maybe we can hear from Ben first, and kind of see, like, was it the YouTube channel that brought you in? Like, what was the core message that really changed it for you? I was like, hey, this is a community that I'd really like to join.
Well, I could probably actually trace it back to a single YouTube video, I think. It was
Wow.
one of the pair YouTube videos that you had done, and you were showing off the Notion gamification system for the first time. But as soon as I had seen that, I was early into Notion. I was just checking stuff out, and I hadn't even finished developing my systems yet. So I had just kind of bookmarked it and set it aside of just, oh, whenever I get to gamification, this is going to be exactly what I need. I'm going to need to come back. And then I kind of set it aside for a little while. Eventually, I ended up coming back around, and I'm so glad I did, because after I started getting more set up with the templates,
Mm.
I then found out about CoX3 and the family. And then just being able to join in, I really got to see that, like, oh, hey, yes, it's not just these static templates, but this is a whole community that you get to be a part of. And I think that was the secret sauce that I didn't know that I was looking for at the time, but that's a really nice thing that I was so glad to be able to have found that.
100%. And thank you for sharing that experience. And like, so, and just to add on, right, just to help everyone understand what Ben's talking about, basically, as a community, we develop a lot of tools for organized thoughts, for being intentional, for, gamifying your life, making work fun. And what Ben's describing is that his process of finding the community was actually finding one of the things that we built, and then realizing that the community was a very big aspect of, our way of making work enjoyable and fun is doing it with other people, right? Having a, almost like a group with you, an accountability group with you that is with you as you level up in your life, as you embark on these amazing adventures that you have, and essentially be able to have a system that helps you grow and helps you level up at an exponentially greater pace than if you were to do it on your own by yourself. So 100%, I'm very glad you found this as well, Ben, and really excited about that. And Ashley, for yourself, like, what was the journey like for you? I know Ben brought you into the community, of course, but what was your what was this pitch that was sold to you, I guess, from him?
Oh my gosh, let's see. So I think he just kind of started showing me like more of the like. I think he showed me at least one of your videos before like fully joining and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, and I'm having a lot of trouble remembering. I do remember like one of the first things was he wanted to go to like the hacking with the community meeting that was in there, and like and so like he was joining in on that, and then like I also need to be here because I also wanted to have internet access. So I was just also there, like doing like probably on my Switch or something, just like passively listening, just like, oh wait, project, and it's like games, and also like just very very like ADHD friendly things, like like sounds helpful. Like just for like a lot of people. And so then I also started joining, and like I think I had also kind of like one of the first meetings we went to was one of the Sunday meetings, and I had like kind of like heard it a little bit, but like wasn't sure, but like I was just very surprised at like how like I don't know, just like the kinds of conversations I was like kind of hearing, like just like passively, and it's just like I don't know, it's just very interesting, and like I don't like it seemed like something that like I needed, like that kind of like those Sunday council meetings are really great for just like the accountability of like and like also like of like taking that time to reflect, and that was just kind of like a big thing that like I think I've just kind of like realized I haven't had to do much, like at least not like intentionally. And so this is kind of like bringing that as more of a forefront thing, at like something to actually hit. Like now there's a dedicated time, right? Like, and like I'm talking to people about it, and like that also makes it easier. So like, just
100%. No, this is amazing. And actually, what happens is, we've kind of leaked into like the second point I want to make here, where again, I think community is a 4-step process. And the second step is the hook, right? How do people fall in love with the community? And that's exactly what Ashley did, right? She fell in love with the community. And it was because, we have things like, the projects that we work on, right? And so projects was projects we're working on. And that was something that both Ben and Ashley, felt resonance with, right? Ben with the, the hackathon stuff, the new app that we were building and we just launched last week. By the way, we got featured on the front page of Product Hunts. I don't know if you guys know this, but we got featured on their newsletter, which is like amazing. Yeah, they have to handpick us to do that. So they actually were able to give it a lot of recognition. So just an aside, very proud of us for that. Congratulations.
Yeah. I noticed it was the headliner. It was pretty great.
Yeah, wow. So amazing stuff. So projects we're working on, obviously, invites a lot of participation. Co-working channels, I think, is another thing, being able to hang out there. But I think one really important thing that Ashley mentioned that I really like as well is the Sunday Council meetings, right? Having a time where we come together and intentionally and meaningfully reflect, make sure that we, are setting aside time to be intentional, to be present for each other, to really have those times of, how can we be helpful for each other? How can we come up with, ways to, be helpful and also share wins with the community so that everyone can celebrate together with our happiness and also learn a bit with us when we talk about some of our failures. So I think that's really, really cool. And obviously, everyone, because I'm trying to gear this specific video or this live stream for anybody who wants to build their own community as well. Like, how does this process work? Is, you really got to think about all the different ways for people to get hooked into the community, whether it be events that you hold or just recurring interesting things that happen. For example, for us, it's projects we're working on, or the co-working channels, which people can just jump in and have conversations. So for example, you can see like right now, even in here, we have quite a few people just hanging out in different spaces of the community, in the library, in the Great Hall. So I think it's all really, really cool. I really like this kind of joint experience where we can all just come in and, have really meaningful discussions together day in and day out. So that's the hook part, right? And then also, of course, we have like an introduction section in which people can introduce themselves and we can start discussions on that. So I really like that. It gives everybody a chance to really get to know new members of the community. I think that's a really important aspect as well. So that's the hook, right? And again, we've heard from Ashley and Ben, so you don't have to hear from me. It's like, it's pretty effective, I think, right? To get people into the community and really enjoy their time here. And hopefully it's about how do we deliver value, right? Hooks are always about what is something valuable to people that they can't get elsewhere. And it's not really about, just how can I get people to stay engaged and stay active, but rather, why should they stay engaged and stay active? Well, it's because we're delivering something of value to them. So that's about the hook. And let's talk about incentives, right? So incentives is something interesting where it's like, okay, especially for us, we're very much on gamification. We're very much on the idea of how to make work fun. And on top of that, how do we make community building fun, right? How do we make people really interested in joining a community and getting involved, where we have something called level ups in Guilded. Like, why we chose Guilded over Discord as a platform. We were on Discord once upon a time and we switched to Mighty Networks, and now we finally switched to here. We have a whole blog on that. But why we ended up switching to Guilded is because everybody has like a level mechanism, right? For example, Anne-Marie is like level 82. Holy crap, right? Whereas, we have perhaps other people in the community who, have just joined us and they aren't any levels yet, right? It's just level 1. So it gives people an incentive to level up and try to get engaged with the community, especially because when you start leveling up and you hit level 10 in our community, you get something called veteran exclusives, right? You get to unlock more channels in the community. You get to get exclusive freebies like Notion, using Notion for free. That's a benefit of what we have, like some tools that we partner with and we work with, especially give our community benefits for being part of this intentional living movement, right? And I think it's really, really cool that we get a chance to offer these kind of things for members that have obviously been very involved with everything that we do. So always finding some sort of partnership and finding some sort of incentive or reward for users to really level up fast and get access to more and more cool things that we offer in within our family. So quick question for Ben and Ashley is, how was that experience like for you? I guess, finding out there's always something more behind the door, like as you keep getting more engaged or something more to come. Like, what was that experience like for you? I'm curious. Maybe we can go with Ben first as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think really just like getting attached to the veteran benefits. And while it's kind of unlocking things behind the door or going through the pages, I think all of it to me felt in some ways kind of seamless, because I want to say, it was like the first week I signed up, I want to say, and joined on like a Monday, and then signed up in we went and watched on the Friday stream, and then hopped in on the hacking, and then went to the Sunday meeting council, and then by the next week I was pretty much a veteran. And then by then I was like, oh, okay, well, let's start checking out more of the Notion stuff. So I think it worked out really well, at least for me in my case. But I think that it was really nice to be able to kind of get access to a lot of those resources, explore through some of that workspace. I'm kind of really excited. I like the idea that it would be kind of a shared space for all those members in the family, and not to mention, not too shabby to get access to a pro workspace to be able to work in Notion.
100%. Thanks for that feedback there. And Ashley, anything you'd like to add on top of what Ben shared?
Let's see. So this is, are you specifically talking about just bringing more people in, or and having them go through level up, or is it
Oh, well, I was mentioning more specifically about what was the experience like just finding out there's more things being unlocked as you were using Guilded more and more and getting more and more involved with the community. Yeah, what was that experience like for you?
okay, well, the first, I don't even know how many things, the first few where you unlock, at least I think most of it, the main community spaces and everything. I think that's just great, and it is kind of good to just kind of step through and be like, hey, look, this is this space, this is what this is for, and so it's just a good way of just gradually showing everybody this information, so it's not as overwhelming.
Yeah. So I think that's another big point I want to add is incentives for me are really broken down into two components. One is hey, yes, I want to give opportunities for people to learn that there's more things that they can benefit from as long as they continue engaging and getting more involved with the community. But also it serves as a good salami approach where we're okay, here's the first bread, here's the first piece of meat, here's the second piece of meat, here's the lettuce, here's the cheese. You slowly give step by step more and more resources for the users because it gives them the opportunity to unlock it for themselves first of all, but also end up exploring more and more of the more advanced stuff that you can offer them, and really give them a step-by-step process in, hey, this is how I can benefit more and more from whatever this service is. And in this case, our community service is making sure you never have to struggle alone and being able to co-create and collaborate with other people that are just like you. So I think that's really, really cool. And incentives, I think, is another big thing. And then the last thing is reminders. And this one is just really simple. It's hey, how do we get people to remember we're here? What are the nudges we can give people to be hey, we're still here. If you still need us, whenever you need us, we're here. So how do we stay top of mind? And the first thing is email reminders. I think once a week is cool, right? So every week we'll send out a small newsletter. Hey, this is what happened in the community, right? These are the things that we've done, these are the things that, made us really special. Here's the people we want to thank, the reviews that, people have been giving us, all these awesome positive things that's been happening really gives people a chance to get reminded that, hey, maybe this is something I want to get involved in some way or another. Another thing is we found that there's been a lot of organic accountability partners, and I think people in the chat can can probably attest to this, where it's I think people have been setting up their own groups of accountability, just making friends within the community. I think that's really, really cool. And I think the more kind of friendships that you make, the easier it is to stay in the community, because basically people end up encouraging others to come back online. It's hey, where are you? I haven't seen you around. And that becomes a very, very organic and wholesome experience in terms of the collaboration and co-creation aspects of our community, really coming together and making sure we're all advancing together. And especially so for the people who specifically ask for help and say hey, I want someone to come in and support me on XYZ. Can someone ping me on this? And obviously as a community, we're always very, very happy to help. Um, so yeah, I think this kind of summarizes like the four main approaches that I have when building a community. Obviously, I've kind of glossed over some of the finer details, but because we have a few challenges that we want to work on today live, and again, I'm very open in the way that we do things. Obviously, nothing is perfect, but I hope that by showing you the challenges that we face today, especially as someone who is either looking to build their own community or someone that is just interested to make our community better as well as someone who's watching from our community, this is a way for you to learn perhaps some of the challenges that we see, especially for running like a community of our size, and how we think we can solve them and hopefully do a lot of those changes live today. So I'm super excited. Ashley, Ben, you guys excited?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so this is going to be a lot of your show. I'm going to just quickly read the main points that we're talking about, and then I'll let you guys kind of elaborate again as, I guess professionals in this regard, right? Like the struggles that you guys personally faced, amidst all the all the benefits you get. Also, how could we make this process seamless and better and smoother? Okay, so the four main things that I'm going to try to cover within this stream is the first one is difficulty of getting into the community. I think that's something that perhaps I can speak more on because something that I think is a problem. So right now, if you want to join a community, obviously, as I just mentioned earlier, I kind of make it a very, you know, involved process. I need to understand what the community is all about. I need to understand the mindsets, the beliefs. There's a social contract. There's a lot of stuff. And then finally, I have to submit this application, which, mind you, is not short at all, right? It's a very intentional thing where we ask, a lot of questions. I'm just going to quickly browse through just to show you, right? I'm going to say test at test.com. I'm just not going to submit at the end. Next, we kind of, ask them to categorize themselves as a student, creative, second winder. So let's say I'm a creative. Next, why do you want to join us? So there's an explanation here. Again, example, move on. How did you hear about CoX3? Like there's a bunch of information that we ask as an application process, which I think is really, really important, right? Because it gives us a really good way to filter out people who aren't serious about our community. But the issue is that it ends up also turning off a lot of people that may need to be nudged and eased into the process rather than just having this whole big, application up front. So something that I'm considering doing is being able to have and by the way, I love the answers here because the answers always make me smile because the people's reasons for joining us are all very like from the heart. And it's like, oh, I want to join this place because I want to be more intentional with my life. I want to join this place because I want to learn more about X, learn more about Y. I want to join because, all these certain like really positive reasons. And I love that. But what I think could be really cool, and perhaps this is where actually Ben can jump in, is what if people can already join the Great Hall, perhaps, right? Already just by, just by showing up, right? They can already communicate with us, learn a bit about what we're all about, and having a kind of open forum there. And then only when they want to unlock the rest of the Guilded family, join the meetings that we have, that's when they would go ahead and submit an application and really get involved with our community, because I think what that unlocks is the ability to start interacting with us even before they have to go through the whole process of doing the application, and perhaps that'll give them like a really good taste of what's behind the door before they go through that whole involved process. But of course, again, that kind of diminishes the effect of having like that application up front, making sure it's an intentional signing up. So I'm curious, like, perhaps Ben, you can start, what do you guys think?
Well, I think that actually does a lot of things potentially for us in some senses. So in that instance, ideally that member has already kind of gotten through the process of Guilded and getting into that space. So they've already kind of found the family.
Yeah.
So hopefully that might get rid of a little bit of user confusion in that sense. But then they would still potentially need to go through that filter in order to be able to join, the larger family space as a whole. And I think that kind of already fits in really well with what you were talking about earlier, just kind of being able to be part of the family, but as you're part of it and you spent time or proved yourself or leveled up, you slowly unlock more and more. And I think that this idea is able to push that a little further of, in theory, we want to be open to kind of everyone, but they need to also be open to us in order to be able to really make the full benefit of the family.
100%. Yeah. So my thought process is like, if I'm a brand new person and I'm coming to Koistry Family for the first time, I should be able to just make a quick account on Guilded, be able to chat with other people in the Great Hall, have a meaningful discussion. Maybe we'll even have like the family connection out as well. So then that becomes an open forum for anybody who wants to talk about the app itself, right? But just keeping things simple, right? As simple as possible. And then if they want to unlock the rest of the server, they'll submit the application, and then one of our moderators could manually let them into the rest of the family once they see the application and stuff like that. So I think that's actually a really, really cool process that I'd be interested in accelerating in that sense. Yeah. Awesome. So that's the first challenge to solve. And again, perhaps we'll talk through everything first before making changes, because again, I think that making that change for the difficulty of getting in is quite relatively easy, and I'm happy to do that now live on stream so that anybody who's watching this after this can also just join and see what we're all about for themselves. But the next thing is like the difficulty of getting hooked, meeting the right people. So this is something that I think Ben and Ashley have a lot to talk about, because this is the whole idea of like, the moment I get into the community, who is reaching out to me, who is going to be there to help me on my journey of being more intentional, living, gamifying my life and all those kind of things. And also being able to ensure that I build a bond with someone else, because we've seen time and time again that people that end up really loving the community, really enjoying it, are people who have found the right people, other people, and are able to essentially connect well with them, and have this amazing opportunity, I guess, to make a really good friend. So right now it's all organic. It's like, hey, if you joined, a Sunday Council meeting, or if you joined a co-working channel, you had a good conversation, then that's how you kind of make friends. But I think there's something better that we can do, in this regard, that helps people really meet like a mentor or someone that is going to help them level up 10 times faster than if they were to do it themselves, without having to go and find that person within the community. So the floor's all yours, guys. Ben and Ashley, I know you guys have a lot of good ideas here, so please go ahead. And I think perhaps in this case, Ben can go first again.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I really like this idea of just like this hook role of an individual to match with. To me, it also reminds me a lot of just kind of an idea of a guide, right? No matter what, whenever I think of an idea of a community, whether it's a new job opportunity, so you got a career space, if you're going to a local community space, even your library, no matter what, there's someone there who is going to be able to come meet you, and you know quickly who you're supposed to talk to. And I think that having those clearly defined points of contact sometimes are a little difficult in the family. Coming in, it's very much one of those things of like, it feels like we may have just seen a video of yours, and then that makes you a great point of contact, and that's amazing. But also, every point of you can't be the point of contact for everyone in the community, because that's just not going to work as we scale.
You're not awake 24/7. hopefully.
Hopefully, with your guys' helpful encouragements, that doesn't end up being the case. I think there's like a sleep police in our community now, which is awesome. By the
That
way,
sounds like
I love it.
that sounds like a great bot. Just like
We'll have
how
like a
many
tag.
hours of sleep have you put in?
No, we'll have a great tag, and the moment you see someone past their bedtime, we'll call the sleep police, but like at sleep police. Arrest this person. Time them out.
Just got like icons, just like wee woo wee woo.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. That actually should be a thing. Wait, Ben. You had a really awesome flowchart, right? Do you mind sharing that with me? Can you paste that into the whimsical board we're currently working on? Because I want to work off of that. Add the details that we just talked about. Because there's a lot of really cool stuff there that I really want to add on. Are you able to copy and paste that in?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll take a look.
Sure, perfect.
And
Okay.
maybe while he's doing that, I also had some
Please,
thoughts
of
on the-
course, Ashley. Go ahead.
Yes. So also another part of the getting hooked is like, so it's meeting the right people. It's like meeting the right people who have things that they want to talk about, and then that you also want to talk about, so that you can then like form those bonds, have those conversations. Like I feel like that's like yeah, there's like the meeting people, but also it's just like, oh, like there are actually people I have things in common with to actually stay and like talk to about like these different topics that are important to me. And like I feel like that is also like a big part about the like getting hooked. At least for me, definitely like being able to just kind of see like, oh yeah, like this is kind of this like what these people are interested in. It's like these are a lot of like lots of common interests. Lots of like common interests, but are like also like slightly off. So it's like I could definitely still like learn something like from this person, because like maybe they're more advanced in this interest, like they're actually a professional or something, like and I just like want to learn more, something like that. So just like and especially like for people who are like introverts and like have trouble maybe like starting those kinds of conversations, and like having the community kind of ease that process of like, hey, you're kind of like, you know, like we noticed you're interested in X. Here is the X community, right? Like they like, this is just that area dedicated to this topic, where like everyone will just like gush about this topic.
100%. So I think that bridges into like the ability to start conversations, right? And I noticed that too, because obviously I'm someone that's a bit more extroverted, and I'm able to start random conversations based on just anything I'm thinking about at the time. But that's not something that everybody has the confidence to do, especially when they're coming straight into the community for the very first time, and especially if they're a bit more introverted as well. So I think there could be something to be done there where, on top of just having the right space for people to hang out in, but also having like perhaps schedule like conversation timers, is like, hey, there's a really cool topic here that we've been all kind of been buzzing about. And if you guys want to join this conversation, use this as a conversation topic, and let's ask more questions and let's build on this idea. And I think that's also very, very helpful, especially for us as a community, to build more knowledge bases on certain topics. So for example, if someone particularly is trying to figure out like, how do I achieve self-actualization, right? Or how do I, be more happier in my life, or some kind of self-help thing that they're struggling with or they read recently. And that becomes a general topic within the community. And every time someone wants to have a conversation, we can steer that towards that direction and build up more information on that one topic and more ideas. I think that could be really, really cool, because then we end up having like, tens, hundreds of people building on one big idea. And I think that could be something that is a good solve. Is that something you were thinking about, Ashley?
Yes, that is exactly what I was thinking about. And especially, you already have some of the structure for it with the with the some of the roles you have now with like the student and the wizard and the warrior. Like you do kind of already have like somewhat of like this kind of like it's almost like a level of expertise kind of thing. At least that's how I saw it.
So conversation starters, right? Is what we're kind of talking about here. I love it.
But I mean, I would say it even goes beyond that. To me, I think it kind of even goes into your idea of incentives. That I have always kind of liked the idea or looked at the philosophy of, you know, oftentimes I might imagine that you might be looking or try to get hooked into the family because you are really looking to be able to refine your skills. You know, you might be on the side that you're like looking for kind of a space to be able to be more engaged. But it's one of those situations that oftentimes I think that people will find the tools they need, get the resources they were looking for, and then they'll kind of fall off from that community after a while because they, you know, the community was based on giving them those resources. They got the resources, and then, you know, that kind of transaction was over. But I like that this perspective doesn't really, it isn't really based around that. Instead, we're really based around all of these different individual guilds, right? And yes, you know, in the beginning there is, you know, onboarding learning to get you to the point to where you are active and engaged. But once you're active and engaged, there's constantly reason to be there working with everyone else, not between just the accountability, but because of being able to be, as we put, kind of on the bleeding edge of those conversations, of really learning kind of from both the, not just, you know, new individuals coming in, but, you know, or not saying that new individuals won't be, you know, as knowledgeable, but I guess kind of the idea of a badging or leveling system of those with more experience are really able to share that experience with those, with the family, and continue to grow it. And I think that's something that's really rewarding to be able to, you know, in some of my areas, share some of the experience that I have, and be able to be on streams like this.
100%. Ben, did you get a chance to transfer over? Can we talk about the?
I did. I pasted into the whimsical we were working on, I think.
Perfect. Is it on the right-hand side or the left-hand side?
The far left, I want to say.
Far left. How far left?
No, underneath some of your stuff on the left.
Okay. Right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm going to redesign it a little bit if you don't mind, Ben, because I have some
absolutely.
ideas.
It does not cover most of the cases, I realized.
No problem. Okay, so this is something that Ben shared the other day, which again was beautiful, and thank you. And I'm sure Ashley had a hand in that as well. So thank you both. Because, and I really liked it because it gave a really good, interesting twist to the whole community aspect. And again, for us to level up here, one of the big things for me is how can I make this more like a game, right? Like in a game, it's very clear for me how to join communities, how to join a guild, how to get involved in guild events, right? And why is it even beneficial for me to be in a guild in the first place? Because I get better resources, there's some discounts at, you know, the tavern, whatever it might be. There's always some sort of like incentive to be part of a community when I'm playing a multiplayer game. So and life is a multiplayer game. Let's be very honest. We're all social creatures. This is multiplayer. So how do we make it more apparent and obvious that this is the multiplayer game that we can excel in as long as we have the right people around us? We are the, you know, average of the 5 closest people to us, right? And ideally we want to surround ourselves with such people. So here's my thought process on this. And again, as I build this out, Ben, actually just jump in anytime. I think it'll be very, very good. So first of all, I'm going to assume that people will find us about, we'll talk about this step later on, because I think this is our scope for just now. But basically, people will find us somehow. So find us somehow, right? Find us on X. I don't really care where it is right now, but for now, it's just they found us on X and now they're into the community, okay? So this is going to be like where they came from, Notion templates, the family connection. We'll just say they found us on X and then we'll start from there, okay? So found us on X, they get landed to the Gilded, which is the Great Hall. And then my thought process here is this is a streaming channel, right? So streaming channel. Or actually, I think they should only have text channels. Let's say some kind of text channel, because I think streaming channel will be maybe too hard to moderate. But text channel, and then in this text channel, basically, I'm gonna put some comments. You'll have access to leaders within the community can ask questions and discuss certain topics, get a taste of what it is like to be in the community, and learn what they can unlock if they submit an application to become a full family member. So the analogy, and I'm always going to do these analogies, right? So the analogy is, right, adventurer comes into the guild house to ask questions and mingle with the people hanging out in the common area. But if they want to play in the leaderboards and get guild quests and
Join guilds.
and join guilds, right, interact with the rest of the community that doesn't hang out in the common area, submit an application, do a test, etc. Right? Like you have all those games where you like do a test to get into the guild, and then they test you on like certain aptitudes and attitudes and stuff like that. So same analogy here. So, and something I was thinking about that could be really cool, by the way, since we now have the ability to make bots in Guilded, or at least simple bots, you can actually do stuff like if they do like, exclamation mark help, an instant help message can pop up. It's like, hey, this is a space where you can hang out, talk to people. If you want to, submit an application, click here, blah, 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 blah. So we can make those kind of bots, which make it a lot easier on our leaders so that we don't have to continuously say the same thing again and again and again. So I think that could be really, really cool as well. So perfect. So from here, what I'm thinking is then, they end up submitting an application. So right now at this point, by the way, they're still very much anonymous. So at this point, they're anonymous user. So I might even put something in the background that just indicates that they're an anonymous user. So we're going to put it like this. So everyone in this bubble is still anonymous user. And I'm going to make sure I send this to back. Don't know how it's happening there. Try one more time. There. Anonymous user, and let's put it at the bottom. Or at the top, I think it's better. Okay, so then they'll submit an application. So join.coextreme.com/apply. They'll submit an application. The application then will send the application to what I use Airtable for this. But it's fine. It's like it's just a staging area. So manage applications. And then a leader, right, or a moderator would be able to approve that, right? So when the leader or moderator approves it, basically what they'll do is assign relevant tags or roles for the member. So what happens here is, what happens here, and later on it could be more programmatically, I guess, but for now it'll be manual. But what happens is the leader can give a few things, right? So roles assigned include one is going to be family member, right? Because they got accepted. But the second one is going to be the guild they chose to join. So if you remember, right, inside this application, and I'm going to go back a few steps, we had a question about like, they can self-identify as a creative, a student, a second winter. Ben, actually, what I'm thinking about is like we can even add more things here so that we can better classify them into, or new people into one of the guilds that we currently would offer. And maybe this is a good time for us to talk about what kind of guilds there would be in the first place, so that when the leader comes in and starts assigning them roles, they can immediately assign them to a role, to a space that fits them the best. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's see. So, I'm thinking that they would be very it'd be interest-based, and I also wonder if you could have a list there of all currently active spaces,
yes.
And then also have maybe another like just kind of fill in, just like, oh, my interest isn't like, we don't have a full space dedicated to it yet, but like maybe like they can optionally like submit, be like, hey, it'd be cool if there was a space dedicated to this thing. And then maybe like on the moderator side, right, like if like a certain number of people like want to do that, like there could be like regular ways to like submit that as like as something to be approved by the mods, to like make that space. But then yeah, I hope I'm making sense.
No, 100%, exactly. Right? It's a place for them to already show their intention of like what specifically in the community is interesting them. And this is why this text channel is so important, is because this text channel gives us the opportunity to let them know what spaces are available. So when they're submitting their application, they have an idea already of what they want. Because right now the situation is, when they submit their application, they don't know what's behind the curtain. All they can guess is from our conversations or what I say on YouTube videos like this, where it's like, hey, we're an awesome community, we do all sorts of stuff, but they have no idea what's actually behind the curtain. So this is basically giving them an opportunity to find that out. And then when they submit their application, there's actually like very relevant information for them to work off of in terms of like understanding what the heck they can do here. So I think that's super, super cool. And then basically what happens here is that, so assign relevant roles for a member, and on top of that, start sending relevant email reminders, right? And that's going to be programmatically. So this is with the API, through API. And then this will be manual for now. Yeah, so this is one that's manual. Perfect. So maybe right now we can already start like brainstorming what are some guild areas that you guys had in mind. Maybe Ben, you can add something here.
Sure. And this is one that I've been kind of wondering here, though, is how kind of upfront would want to be with the idea for those kind of guild spaces on this user form, right? Are we more just kind of looking for, hey, give us, of this list of interests, what interests do you have? Do you have any extra? And then since we're already going to be having a look over by a moderator, we can kind of recommend and push members towards guilds without having to rely on them kind of looking and knowing the correlation of what our guilds are versus their interests.
I think this could be an active discussion. I don't know the right answer here, honestly. Like it could be that, there's enough conversation going on in this open channel that, they already know what they want. There could be someone that just went to the app directly and then doesn't know what they want at all. And then we'd be like, okay, well, this is how we can help you. So there's many, many ways to go about this problem. I think the easiest way for us to start, though, is to say, hey, what are the guild spaces we imagine there to be? And then what is going to be the process of integrating them and getting them involved? So for example, right here, I'm about to say like, okay, so we assign them relevant roles, but then what happens in that space, right? Like in every guild space, what must happen? So, join guild space. Like, so what do we expect every single guild leader to usher them into? Well, definitely Sunday council meetings, right? Ideally, they should be able to join Sunday council meetings. Like that, what's the end goal, right? Meaningful discussions on X, right? And every single guild space will have different meaningful discussions. Different party quests, so party quests, right? Party quests on X, so ideally their guild also manages their party quests that they might be interested in joining. What else would you say the guild, like their specific sub guild would be, would help them with, right?
Any quick links to data relevant to that space, so that X space.
So relevant,
so like
master tracker.
Like,
oh, sorry.
Like the stuff in the library.
Oh, okay.
Like,
relevant
yeah.
Content.
The date, content, the stores. I don't remember all like which term, but.
Well, and we were having some conversations in the family and doing a little bit of design and development. But it seemed like that there was some kind of interest in having an entire kind of separate either database or page space for each one of the guilds to be able to kind of use and have as their own space. And so there may be a lot of references and stuff that are stored there as opposed to just kind of maybe being pinned somewhere in a long list of things somewhere on a thread in Guilded.
Yeah, so having their own Notion. So the issue with Notion spaces would be that I want to give that as a benefit after they engage fully, right? So as a veteran, that will be because it's harder to control the access once we've given the access, unless it's gonna be like a public page, which is a totally different story. I think a public page is fine, but then public page.
Sorry. No, I totally agree 100%. But I guess what I was saying is I would think, especially for your guild, one of your first steps in whatever guild or guide is reaching out to you. And the process of going through some of those quests is probably going to be for the sake and goal of getting you to be that recruit level that you can start accessing more things with the family. So it's a bit of training to get you up to that point.
Got it. Okay, so I guess the process will be like this, right? So join guild space, a guide will reach out. So guide will reach out. So basically like there'll be an announcement, I guess, right? There'll be announcements on the new joining of a member and announcements. And announcements will happen. Guide can reach out there or directly send a message, right? So that's important. And then what the guide is trying to do is they're trying to encourage the user to join any of these things. These will be like the KPIs, perhaps you can think of it like that. But like the things that we think the user will benefit from the most if they were
they're like
in our community.
guild activities.
Yes, guild activities. Perfect. That's guild activities is the right way to say it. Perfect. Thank you. And then what we're going to call them, let's make this purple then. And then we're going to throw this text at the top, at the bottom perhaps. Guild activities. And then we can just throw this inside here. And so the guide, do you have a better name than guide? I think guide fits the bill, but I think there's something better we can say as well. But anyway, yeah, we'll think of a better name. I don't know. Mentor?
Guide that, well, like the mentor feels like it's more specific. It's like, I don't know. Guide. Welcome wagon person. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it is the welcome wagon person, right? Yeah, it is.
Well, like leader, I think would be another good definition, but I don't know exactly the scope where we're hoping for this role to take on. Is one of those that I think we also have never really clarified whether or not, for instance, you would need to be kind of, I guess, apply for and get some role in the community and then therefore be eligible to then be one of the greeters for new members, or if that would be something that even without having to immediately go in and do more applications and reaching out for the family space, that if say you had this really strong interest and you had grown and built kind of a guild because you had your own expertise that you wanted to share, you may be the point of contact for that space.
Yeah, 100%.
But I feel like that is separate from the leaders, though. The leaders seem to be a cross guild kind of role, you seem like you'd be a good fit for this guild. Here, I will change your permissions to have the role for that space, and then you can go from there and let me know if you have any questions, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mixture of both. My gut feeling is that the person that accepted them would be the best one to reach out to them because they actually know what they said on their application. But I'm also very much understanding that the bandwidth problem, and so I think we'll see how it plays out. but 100%, I think there will be some sort of interesting incentive idea we can have where it's like, well, if there's a leader in charge of a member, then their leveling up will benefit them in some way as well. Because my biggest thing is like you level up the fastest when other people are learning from you. Like that's how I level up the fastest. I level up by teaching. So 100%, I think there's a lot of benefits for people to act as leaders in the community, whether it gives them an opportunity to level up more in their own role, in their own life. So I think that's super, super, super interesting. But yes, 100%, I think this is like already on like the beautiful, beautiful path. Okay, so just recapping, right? They come in, they got the relevant roles, which gives them access to guild space. Someone reaches out to them, which brings them to guild activities. They could go to guild activities without reaching out, by the way, but the reach out I think is important to make sure they have a connection. I think also we should automatically create like a introduction for them. Ideally, if I can do it, we'll do it. But introduction is posted for the new member, right? So the same thing happens, but this time hopefully maybe it's like automatic, or again maybe they're told to do it by themselves. We'll see. But this is to help everybody understand the new member joining and say hi. But obviously we also have a small problem with that. It's not always very active and engaging for the introduction. So I don't know if that's 100% necessary. What do you guys think?
Well, so I'll just give some perspective. I think that's like a little fresh in my mind because I mean I was just doing it today. I'm not sure, Conrad, if you've ever heard of something along the lines of PechaKucha.
No.
But it's essentially just kind of a couple of short slides that you talk about yourself and you can kind of show images. But it's kind of an elevator pitch in a PowerPoint presentation. But I think one of the things that I liked about the idea of this, I mean, not necessarily this, but we would go around and present to each other, that you'd kind of have this amount of time that you say, hi, this is me, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you have any of these shared interests. And so I think that's part of what's missing maybe with the introductions that we have now, is they're being kind of given out and posted, but it's maybe not synchronous with the rest of the family, to the point to where I think that if we have introductions, they can just maybe be out and be posted and be visible at any point, but they also maybe need to have a specific introduction at the next Sunday council meeting or where be it, where they're going to have an opportunity to really meet the family, and there's more there's more connection with that introduction when we have the new person introduction in those Sunday meeting councils. At least I believe.
Okay. Do you have a current design in mind of how that will work? I'm just curious. If you don't, that's fine. I'm just curious if there's something tangible I can latch onto to help my understanding.
I think that maybe it needs to be more than just a single, okay, there's either a leader puts out or there's an automated kind of introduction post. But I think that maybe they need to try and go over and include some of that introduction when they're giving their introduction in the Sunday meeting, so that we can know some of that content. Because oftentimes I think that there's nice Sunday meetings and it's really nice meeting new members of the family, but some of us haven't always done our homework and we don't really know what the interests were that we might have wanted to have talked about had we have had the opportunity.
100%. Very, very cool. I like that a lot. And I think we can discuss more on introductions as we get to it and see how we can improve that. So 100%, I think that's important. Let's also talk about the next step too, which is I think veteran members, right? Known or family members, I guess. Family members here. And then veteran members, this whole idea is that once you hit level 10, you get exclusive activities, right? Exclusive activities. And the exclusive activities include the ability to specialty stores, right? So there's more channels you can get up to, which I think we can actually do away with now, because if they're able to in their application just specify exactly, more specification on Guilded username, and then also what they want to what spaces they want to join, right? So I think specialty stores isn't a thing anymore, because they can already choose what spaces they want to join early on, because specialty stores are just new spaces. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. I think that the idea of the guilds is kind of an evolution out of what will be the specialty stores. I will say, though, a difference. I'm curious that you may know more about kind of having developed, but if we were, and not just to do specialty stores, which are giving a channel in Guilded, but if we were to do it more like the level up group, let's say, and actually be like a subgroup in Guilded, and then that way there could be all the groups of channels that are for the activities for that guild.
Yeah. I think we'll have to really figure out what we're going to do for guild activities. I think that's not entirely clear to me yet. Sorry, like it's not what but where does that space live? I think that's going to be something we haven't discussed properly yet, and we will in a second. But that's
so
something
there's
I
the
think.
oh, sorry. Well, there's the community calendar. Like, is there anything like with can these subspaces have like their own kind of like little community calendar where they can have like their own like whatever weekly check-ins or events dedicated to this interest, right?
Okay, perfect. Let's split this up. Let's split up guild activities, right, which is the full guild activities, and the sub guild activities, right? I think that's important. I think we should call them parties, and then we have the guild as a guild. What do you think? Because there's different layers of classification, right? To me, the Coex3 family is either the alliance or the guild. We have to choose one. If it's the alliance, then everything sub of it is a guild. If it's a guild, then everything sub of it is a party. How do we see it? Like, is Coex3 the raid? Like not the raid. The raid is an action, but like the alliance.
I don't know. I see it as neither. I see this as like your profession. It's your class. It's not really like what side you're fighting for. It's what role you will be playing.
Oh, the faction within the
Yes.
guild. Oh, that's so interesting. That's actually super interesting. Okay, let's do it this way. I'm gonna split this up half-half, because there's going to be two sections to this that we hadn't talked about properly before, and I'm glad we are talking about it now. So this is the faction activities. Oh, sorry, guild activities, and this is like faction activities. Okay, so guild activities, Sunday council meeting, it's everybody, right? That's not a problem. Co-working channels is split, shared between everybody. That's as well. Party quest is going to be shared across everybody. Relevant content is going to be individual, and guild quests. So missions is what I'm talking about. Missions. Guild. Oops. What am I pressing? Guild missions. Guild missions. So these are all going to be guild activities that, again, the leader is going to help the user get involved into. But for their specific faction, they're going to have their own meaningful discussions in their own channels, right? Specific, how about this? Specific channels for meaningful conversations. So maybe one of them would be like really into like self-help as an example, or self-care as an example, right? Guild activities would be like guild events as well. So guild events, cross guild events, right? But then the factions would have, you'd have specific party quests. So specific party quests. relevant content to digest. I think that's super important. Co-working channels don't make sense, and guild quests, like, so there's a split between what are faction activities and what are guild activities. Is this something that we were thinking? Are we on the same page on this?
So not entirely.
That's fine.
Just because I think that I could see there being some level of duplication, right? So let's say, for instance, yes, there's a co-working channel and there's party quests and the guild activities, and you can do the high level and talk with everyone who's going to be actively working. But also there may be a co-working channels, for instance, in your faction activities, and you have your specific party quests that you're in that co-working channel. That might not be something that we're using right now, but just because it's easy to support everyone in guild activities. But at some point, we're going to hit a mass for even the guild activities. We're going to have to start having maybe multiple channels just to handle the quantity of
yeah, at some point, Sunday
posting.
council meetings may even be split into factions. I completely agree. Like, at some point when we hit critical mass, guild activities ends up becoming faction activities. But I think that's more of a problem when we have too many people. And something I would worry about then. For now, I want to funnel everyone into like certain guild activities so that we end up having more participation in those. Would that make more sense? Like, in terms of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. I liked the idea of maybe that at least faction activities may be flexible as we grow, but as you're pointing out, that's going to be a future-proofing kind of situation anyway.
Yes, this, yeah, 100%. Like, I completely would imagine that at some point, co-working channels is growing to like 50 members in one, and therefore, hey, just join the co-working channel for your own faction. Like, there's too many people here. I completely agree. Like, and again, that's how it works in games as well, right? So let's have an analogy here. Okay, I'm gonna put another analogy. Analogy is very simple, this one, because again, I completely did this in games, right? Guild, the entire guild is huge, and I need someone to hunt X monster with me. I will find someone that is in my level range and also needs the same quest as I do to level up. I have so many situations like this where I was like, okay, I just joined a guild, but why I joined that guild was to find someone who could either carry me through a certain area or was there to fight with me through that area as a partner, right? So 100%, I think that's a faction, or a party. I don't know, but either one. I like the idea of this already very, very, very much. Yeah. Are we all on the same page on that, or is there something you would like to add?
I think that it makes a lot of sense to me, at least.
Yeah, same here.
Perfect. Okay, so at some point they level up to 10, right? And then that gives them the opportunity to unlock veteran. This will be automatic, obviously, so we don't have to do this. But then they get leadership opportunities, specialty stores, party leader as well. Faction, they can have a chance to apply to be because leadership opportunities involves moderation, leadership team, leadership, yeah, whatever, that's good enough. This is the Notion workspace, Notion Pro workspace, and other benefits we're going to get later on. Exclusive stuff. Yeah, for now, these are the specific exclusive stuff that they can get. We can obviously add more as time goes on. But anything you guys want to add from there in terms of like, hey, once I level up to level 10, what other like huge benefits should I get as a benefit? I think it's good enough, right? This is good enough.
Well, just I guess one thing, like, is it like they're leveled up in the context of all
Gilded.
of Gilded?
Yeah, only Gilded.
Okay, so not in the context of like the individual like guilds.
The faction.
In the faction.
Is it,
if we can track that, amazing. I don't think we can track that. That's my issue. Yeah.
well, like it would just be another kind of role, basically. Just like this, like you could have like a level 1 role, and it's just like level 1 role within like the context of like cooking, for instance, right? Like, oh, I'm trying to eat better and trying to learn how to cook.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
So
at level
that'll be
one,
at the discretion of the leader within that faction then. They can figure
yeah,
out their own like leveling, like their own
yeah, that's what
rankings
I was
within
thinking
there.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Like, okay, so something really cool that I think could happen is, and this happened, like I played MapleStory a ton when I was a child. So one thing that they did there in that game was, when you set up your own sub guilds and whatever, you can actually create like roles for each member in that guild, so that you can have like your own roles even within your own sub faction. So I think that's always really nice. So
That's so cute.
100%, yeah, you can do that as well. I would imagine you can do that as well, and control what they see and don't see, and give more benefits within their space. Yeah, but this veteran member is for more like as an entire space as a whole. What will you unlock? So again, the faction leader's responsibility is engage, right? But also push people to participate in more guild activities, like have guild contributions. And again, this could be cool, like, if you imagine like Harry Potter, like Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, and stuff like that. Like we can even have like, you know, hey, this person's part of this faction, and then they ended up, participating this much, and that's now, this month,
And then
this
all that's tracked in the app, so then it
exactly.
can just gather up all the points.
100%, 100%. I like that a lot, a lot, a lot. Awesome. Okay, and then once you hit to level, let me do write down just so we have this. Future, we can have leaders can make their own roles within the space, and then they can also contributions to the family can be attributed to their faction as well. Perfect. Okay, so that's really cool. And then veteran members, you can level up to 10, and then you'll unlock this stuff. So that's super awesome. I think that wraps up that part of it, in terms of getting hooked, start conversations. We just haven't tackled the difficulty of getting involved, which is helping out in the community. So my first gut feeling is the leader will essentially push their faction to participate in guild missions that are relevant. So for example, we might have simple guild missions like share about us, on social media. Maybe we have something more complicated like write a blog for us or something like that. Maybe even have something even more complicated, which is like reach out to another family member and support them in some way, right? Like we'll have different varied guild missions. And by the way, I think guild missions should be on the Coix3 app, the Make Work Fun app, so that you can easily hand in stuff. So this goes into more of the idea where the faction leader would help the user get specific relevant content in terms of videos, but also specific relevant templates that will help them out as well, right? So specific relevant templates. Yeah, so those will be stuff that will be helpful for them as well. But yeah, so maybe Ben, you can add on something here, and Ashley as well, because you guys obviously ended up being able to participate and helping out with the community. But how do you think we can make that process better and easier for people to do that? Yeah.
Well, I think you had kind of touched on it. I really like the idea of kind of that leader role, and or the guide role of just. I think that if nothing else, there's kind of two main situations I would see. Hopefully, if them getting set up, which is to really try and make an initial success plan through with them. So it's kind of, I would hopefully, one of the guide's goals is to get you set up with that. And that could be either with your, that family member's own individual success plan and kind of figuring out the things in their personal wars first. But I think that it would also be a good amount of pushing an opportunity to be able to start picking up things off of the quest board. But ideally, even in the case that, okay, now they're built and they have their success plan running, then, okay, now after that, now your guide is now kind of an active recruiter that's, again, trying to push the quest board ideas then onto your success plan.
Yeah, so I think it'd be really cool actually. Like I'm just thinking also future proofing, right? Like for the leader, basically after they accept the member, or again whether or not it's the same person doesn't matter right now, but let's say that they got accepted, they got relevant roles, and I'm just imagining like in Airtable, basically you can have like a page where it shows, hey, these are all your new members for this week, and then these are all the things that you can suggest them to do and make sure that they do, which is like, hey, have they set up their success plan? And every time you check something off, you actually end up triggering like a level up or whatever, I don't know, but some sort of like contribution meter that allows the guild to evaluate like kind of like, oh, okay, so this is where each member in each faction is at, right? Oh, the members in this faction are able to set up their success plan. Most of them are joining some of the council meetings. They've had interesting discussions. That's great. And this is the factions that don't have that yet. And how can we help them? Like, what's this other faction doing better than this one in terms of like setting up their resources and whatnot? So I think that could be really, really cool as well. Yes.
I see. So like the rest of Gilded is also kind of helping like just build these like these little factions of like and getting more people so that way we can gather more information about that faction, that space.
Yeah, like why one faction is working better than another, or not better, better is the wrong word, but like why is one being more engaging, right? Like what can we do to help as a guild? Like, because again, like I love the analogy that I use for like our Sunday council meetings, right? Imagine Coixtry as a whole is like the entire kingdom, and each and each person is a city state, right? Everyone has their own stuff to manage, day in day out, their own wars to fight. But at the every single week, every single week, we can all come together and figure out, hey, what are all the wars that we've won as an individual? What are the difficulties that we're facing, whether it be resource problems or it could be anything to do, like whatever your life problems are, and then how can we be helpful as a kingdom to help each city states. So same ideas here, right? Again, guild down to faction down to individual. So I think this is really, really, really cool in that respect. Yeah. Very cool. I think this is a great step forward. Ben, Ashley, what do you guys think? Are we able to apply these? I think even this weekend we can start applying some of these concepts and get this done. I would love it to already start playing around and seeing what we can do for our members starting as soon as tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I think this seems great.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of those that I can't wait to see. I mean, as you say, even starting tomorrow, because I think that the dividends of this are really just going to start to crop up more and more along the road of just seeing community engagement.
100%. All right, I'll assign action items after our stream, of course. But for now, for everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something. Again, whole intention was share our learnings over the last 2 years in as much detail as we could, and also share how we think about community moving forward, especially now because we see so much benefit in really incorporating the whole gamified aspect of building a community. So we're really, really happy we got to do this with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed as well. Thank you so much for Ashley and Ben for joining us here and for contributing such amazing ideas. I hope you guys join the community if you haven't already, and make sure you meet these wonderful people, because God, Lord knows we need more people like you guys. So thank you again, Ashley, Ben, and
Yep.
take care.
Thank
everybody.
you so much
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
us, Conrad.
Yeah, thank you so